And it only happens when we keep debt low, invest in modern infrastructure, and encourage savings. And it's that last point that I want to talk more about this afternoon. Keeping debt low, investing in modern infrastructure, and encouraging savings. Because that's precisely what our extension of the mixed ownership model is all about. As I go around New Zealand and talk to people, I find they increasingly understand what we're planning to do with the mixed ownership model. So they understand that we're already having a living, breathing example of mixed ownership in Air New Zealand, which has been operating under this model for almost a decade. They understand that the government will retain a majority stake in Meridian, Mighty River, Genesis and Solid Energy, so that we will never lose control. They know that these companies provide an opportunity for New Zealand savers who are looking for somewhere to put their savings and not in a finance company. And they understand this. They understand by extending the mixed ownership model to these companies, the government will free up $5 to $7 billion for reinvesting in new and valuable assets without having to borrow. So today I'm announcing how this reinvestment will happen. If re-elected, National will put the proceeds of mixed ownership totaling between $5 and $7 billion into a new fund called the Future Investment Fund. And it's going to do some great things. The Future Investment Fund will be used to buy new assets on behalf of New Zealanders and to upgrade and modernise our existing assets. The new projects I'm talking about are things like major hospital redevelopments, new schools and transport projects. And they'll result in assets that are long-lived and are here in New Zealand that are owned by the Crown on the behalf of all taxpayers. And we'll set a high bar for projects to be funded out of the Future Investment Fund. And the case for those projects will have to stack up. They'll have to deliver substantial social or economic dividends for New Zealanders. Decisions on spending from the fund will be made on a case-by-case basis by ministers as part of the normal budget process. We intend the fund to run for at least 5 budgets, but this of course depends on how much the mixed ownership model raises. The higher the proceeds, the more new investment we can pay for without having to borrow. We'll be very transparent about the proceeds that go into the Future Investment Fund, and very transparent about what assets are being paid for out of the fund. In this way, the public can be assured that the proceeds of mixed ownership are not being lost. In fact, far from it, the money we raise from mixed ownership will be used in its entirety to pay for valuable new assets that will benefit New Zealanders for many years to come. And because we have the money already there in a fund, we don't need to go out and borrow that money from overseas lenders, increase our debt and pay higher interest payments offshore.